Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Check That Post podcast. I'm your host, Jen, and these are my co-hosts,
Marjorie, Christina.
And tonight we have a special guest, Miss
Bertasha Little.
Happy to have you with us tonight.
Absolutely.
Happy to be here.
Tonight we're going to be talking about a life topic, and it has to do with how you deal with grief through faith. In other words, getting through your grief by faith. So, first of all, let us hear a little bit from our guests. Who are you? Well, you already told us who you are. What do you do? You own a design, Bertasha Designs. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, VV's Designs.
Okay, BB's Design.
Yeah, Bertasha Designs that ended, I think, back a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Took a time off and
Revamp.
revamped,
Okay.
redid, and VV's Designs should be a year old next month.
Okay.
That's what's up.
Celebrating that.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Beautiful.
Okay.
And what is BB Designs?
We made, you know what, and the thing is, I don't know my introductory by heart when it comes to VV's Designs, but I'm telling you.
It's all right.
We are a faith-based small business located in the upstate of South Carolina, Springville. We're using the gifts the Lord has given us to just create, design, whatever, whatever He gives. Versus handmade products, jewelry, which I love, home products. So we venture out into plants. Me and my mom work to collaborate a little bit on different things. She's more of the plants, so I'm trying to bring that in, and so just a plethora of things that it is about. So instead of just creating, so not a particular area, but we're just starting off in these ones. So
Okay, I've seen some of your designs. They're beautiful.
well, thank you.
Like, tell the people, like the earrings.
You
and-
rocking some right
Yeah.
now.
I have some on right now.
You made me some similar to
Yes,
that.
yes, you do.
Love them.
Yeah, I love customizing. And so what I'll do, I'll think of something for someone, and then say, oh, okay, I'll make like another 20 pair. But it is based off just, to give to someone particular. But, just love doing that. Let's tell you more about it. Be more specific. Handmade products that consist of various custom accessories, home decor, and much more. From scripture-based encouragement cards and wall plaques, our various beaded jewelry and beautifully sewn decorative throw pillows, blankets, including small plants and many floral bouquets, to the ultimate jewelry parties. That's what we're striving to, having jewelry parties. So that's coming this year. So come shop with us. If we don't have it, we'll make it. So we do have a Facebook page, VV's Designs. You can find that from a link for my personal page, Bertasha Design. You can Bertasha Little, but VV's Designs. You just search it.
All right, y'all. You heard it. Check it out. So, tell us a little bit about growing up. And you are originally from South Carolina.
Yes, I am.
And you have a few siblings. And one which passed away, I think it's been like 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years actually. This year was 7 years. March 5th, 2017, my eldest brother passed away. So I'm one of seven. I'm the middle of seven, 3 older and 3 younger, and he was the oldest of all of us. So yeah, he passed March 5th of 2027. But the process, it wasn't unexpected, and it was a process, maybe like 4 or 5 months. His health started declining, and it was just a process from there. And we was praying, believing the Lord for a miracle, to change the doctor's report, to change his health. But it was just, it wasn't a lack of faith. It was just like trusting, like, Lord, you can do whatever within this process. You can heal him, but if you don't, that it is well with my soul.
Right.
It's like it was, but it was still heavy just to see my mother go through it and how our family was, and it was hard at times. I remember one particular day I wanted to share specifically regarding my faith and me and the Lord's relationship. Like, I was never angry with him. I was never mad. I was just sad. And it was one day I was working at this call center, and I think my shift started at 9. And so it's opened up all over from California, West Coast, East Coast. And so this morning I was feeling really, 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 really heavy. It was just really heavy. Like I was on, like the tears right there on the edge of the cliff, like ready. And I got my first call, and the guy, he wasn't angry. He wasn't, satisfied. He was just, being in the morning, right? And our call just like disconnected unexpectedly, because it was probably going into the left direction. And it just disconnected. And so I was about to call him back, and then another call came in. And it was a pastor. He was in, I think, Oregon or Washington, like more West Coast, but up north. So it was like 6 o'clock in the morning his time. And we was just talking, and somehow, I got talking about my brother. And, he found out he was a pastor, and he prayed for me. It was just like the Lord do what I needed at that moment. And like, you really realize I'm believing in you. Like, are you, am I, am I on your mind? It's just like you're on my mind.
Right.
So,
You needed proof.
Yes, like you needed that extra, the extra nudge to solidify your, my foundation and who he is in me. Like, this man, just 6 o'clock in the morning, he's up and calling, checking on his books. So he doesn't normally do that, but hey, I need to talk to him. And just like not him, but just talk with the Lord, just like you are so mindful of me and of that. And then after we prayed, that heaviness was gone. I had a great day. I got all 10s, and it was like
awesome.
it was good, but it's still, my brother was in that process, and it was a lot of things. I was sad that I would never laugh again. I thought I would never smile, I would never be happy. I thought I was always going to think about my brother and just be so sad all the time. But like, no, the Lord, he turned the mourning into joy. It's like, the sun came out again. It's like I missed him. I do miss him. But it's like the Lord is still good in my life. There's still good things. There are still things that we can focus as we move forward. But not forgetting who he was. But he was sick, and the doctors. Probably like a week before he passed, the doctors said, called the family in, and they was telling us about everything that was going wrong, within his body, and how they couldn't do nothing. And I was like at the tables, my mother, my second brother, my third brother, my fourth brother, my sister. My baby brother wasn't there. So it was the 5 of us and my mother. So she got up, and actually she walked out. And my pastor came in, Pastor Holt, his wife, Evangelist Holt, and one of his sons came in, I think Mark. He's the assistant pastor. And they came in with us. And my mother, after the doctor stated, she just got up. She made her speech that she didn't, and his daughter's there too, I'm sorry. She didn't want to see him no more until it was time, until it was at the funeral home, she said. She didn't want to even see him at that moment. And I remember I put my head down, and I was like, Lord, you can change something while we're in this room and they're talking about what they can't do. But I just like, not just, through no one, but just I heard it within my heart that, he said, I'm going to take him. And it's like, okay. And it's like for a moment there, it's just like the wind just came out of me. It was like, okay. And then it's when I sat up, I said, well, we know what we must do. We got to prepare, and they wouldn't believe in that. They said they believed in miracles, and I said, okay. Then, my mind we have to prepare. So like I said, within 10 days from there, we got the call that, we didn't get a call. My mother, one Sunday morning, the 5th, that morning, she woke up. I was getting ready for church, and she said she wanted to go see him. I said, okay. It's okay. I said, well, let's go. And I said, well, I'll drive my car. And she was like, well, no, we can ride together. And I was like, okay. You know, it didn't click, you know, right then. So we got there, and I mean, he didn't look good. He didn't look, I mean, he didn't look good. He looked sick. He looked really sick. And, you know, she said she didn't want to see him like that no more. So it was like more so they had him on, like, life machines, you know, things that.
Life support.
Not all life support, but it was just more, yeah. He was on a breathing machine, and but when they was gonna take him off, so the thing was we decided, you know, we didn't want to keep him in that state, and so she's like, call your brothers, your sister, and his daughter, so you know y'all can, you know, be with him. Right. So the thing is, like, you know, we're gonna take him off. And he was still breathing on his own, you know, for hours and stuff, but it started to decline. And by that evening, I went to sleep all day. I slept all day, the rest of the day. And when I woke up, I was like, you know, what's the news? You heard from the doctors, the nurse? She was like, no. I said, well, I'm going to go over there. So as soon as I pull up, my brother, David, was there, who's under me. And the nurse called and said now his breathing had dropped from, you know, like the 90s down to the 20s. So, you know, it could be through the night. And so just began making calls. And my mom ended up coming over. You know, my other siblings came over. And I think by 8:45, 8:46, he took his last breath. I wasn't in the room with them, but they were. And bless her heart, we had this new nurse, this young girl. It was her first night. He was her first patient. So she was out there crying with us. You know, it was just, you know, bless her heart. So just pray for her that she stayed the course with it. Because, you know, be there with families during that time is definitely God sent as well. And so that was, and it was like, okay, now we have to prepare, and we have to get things in place. Thank y'all so much. Y'all came over.
Oh yeah,
and,
absolutely.
So how did you get to the point where your faith in God was like you just trusted His word, like you didn't want your brother to pass, but you was willing to let him have his way
at the table,
His will be done.
At the table when man said that they couldn't do anything, you know, because you know doctors and surgeons, they can do certain things, but even that's still the Lord to me and doing through them. But how they said they couldn't do nothing. And I was like, you know, Lord, you can do something. You know, because you created his body. You know, you're the breath of life. You are the giver of life. You're the sustainer of life. You know, so you can do it. But within that, when it's like I heard that I'm going to take him, like, no, he's not going to be healed. You know, he's not going to give a testimony of me, you know, of how I healed his body. But your testimony will be of me, you know, of keeping you within this process. Like, cause you know, having a relationship with the Lord is not, you're not promised great, beautiful, blessed days. You get everything you want. That's a negative. You know, we grieve, we mourn, family members, relationships. You be heartbroken, you be broke. You know, but you know, but within it, He has a purpose in it. It was just like. Show like, you know, I never experienced that before, so it's like, you know, Lord, I'm about to see you on a different level. So, you know, like I said, I'm gonna be hurt, you know, through my rest of my life. He's like, no, you're not. You know, like there's still joy, you know, there's still peace, there's still love. You still have these things. So it's like going into the negative with Him and not blaming the Lord for this suffering, not being angry, because I know He was still good. And it's a song called Even If by Mercy Me. I love them. It was the Saturday right before his service, and he was putting his body out, and he needed clothes, so we had got him something during the weekend. That morning, I was taking the clothes over there, and I got in the car, and I think his radio was like during their top 20 countdown, and the number one song was Mercy Me, Even If. I think I have some of the words, just let you know. It's based off Daniel 3, verses 16 and 17, when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had told King Nebuchadnezzar that they wasn't going to bow down and worship him, and that, you know, their God was still, like, even if even if God doesn't deliver them from the furnace of if they don't worship Him, that that they're not gonna bow down. So it's just like, I'm not gonna give in to you, even if the Lord don't come through and deliver me from this. But it was just the chorus part that says, "I know you." Excuse me. I know you're able, and I know you can save through the fire with your mighty hand. But even if you don't, my hope is in you alone. And that's where I chose to stay. There was nothing else that makes not even made sense of it, but there was nothing else that gave me, not validation, but just I had no desire to seek nothing else. To seek Him, to seek His word, to be in prayer with Him. Like it was. He kept me during that. I had to be with my mom, my family. Is well, Lord, I feel like I'm breaking down on the inside, but I'm not. I'm still getting up, still going to work. Like I said, it was a process. So it was like I knew, not from the beginning, but that a week before, that my brother's gonna pass, and I had to prepare. And so
you had already kind of like mentally prepared yourself a week before it even happened.
A week before it even happened. It was like Lord said, this is like a really thing, because my mother, maybe 2 years later after he had passed, we were just talking about him, and she was talking about that day. Like I said, she had walked out the room, and once we finished meeting, she stayed out there, and we all talked, and then she left, and we left, and I went and got tires from my car, and she went home. But she shared that when she went home praying, believing the Lord, to change it. And the Lord told her, I'm going to take him. So, but we never discussed that.
Wow.
So she knew that day too. And it was just, that's when I'm a mother, but, her experience with it, he was her firstborn. So, she was like, he grew up with her. She was a young mother. It was a challenge. I thought it would be, but it was just like solidified me. It hurt. That when I think about him, I still do cry.
Of course.
You remember Boo-Boo?
I remember that smile. Like, he always had a joke and a smile. It didn't matter what was going on. He could make you smile. Just crack a joke. My nickname is Chick, for y'all that don't know. And what's going on, Chick? And then he just bring out that little mischievous smile.
Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, Boo had the biggest smile.
Yes, he did. And the biggest heart as well.
Yes.
But,
now I can tell y'all, when they got him all dressed up, I was like, I was crying. I was like, he looks so good. Like he just sleep. Yes. Like he was not looking how he was looking sick in the hospital. He looked like he looked like a healthy himself. Like they had shaved him up real nice, and it was just, he looked so good. So I was really happy about that.
That's awesome.
Well, that's a word of encouragement for anybody that's either about to witness a passing or have been through in the stage of grieving. With her testimony, you can see that no matter what, God got you. Like, he is always present, and you can talk to him. You can ask him to lift that burden from you, or that grief from you. He may not take it away, but he can ease it, ease your mind. Because like she said, he told her that I'm gonna take her, and she accepted it then, because God got last word no matter what. So that's a beautiful testimony, and I hope it'll be able to help somebody that going through that.
I really do too. I'm still. It's a never-ending process. I think we just constantly, just each, because this is the thing too. It was right before my birthday. It was 3 days before my 37th birthday, and I was like, "Well, girl, you got a sense of humor." So it's like, another year here is like, no, my brother left, and it was like the first year, like 37 years, like, he was there when I was born. And so, like, my first birthday without him, it was, but it was still good.
Yeah.
It was still good.
Well, so when you say you were grieving, do you, like, what was your way of grieving? Because I know, like, some people grieve in different ways. Like, some people might just sit at home and eat, all day, not want to go nowhere, not want to go and, see anybody. Like, what was your way of grieving? Was it just sadness? Like, are you just, like, in a sad mood all the time, or just constantly replaying everything over and over in your head? Like, how did you actually grieve?
I didn't take a moment for it. Just what my job was, it's like I help people. So it was just coming, like, I have to help people. That just,
Being there for everybody else.
not necessarily being there, but just being, not keeping myself preoccupied, but I was still working.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so within work, that's a lot of my, designs and things come from, because I work with people, and if they're going through something, I can make you something. So it's like, it didn't allow me to stay on myself, because other people had their own things, and it was like, okay, Lord, what do they need?
Right.
Because, like I say, he kept me, but, other people, it wasn't even like something with death. It can just be anything. They're having a bad day, they're not performing great.
Right, yeah.
And just like being an encouragement, just being there,
Yeah.
like, and just not focusing on mine. It was, and that, and I love that, being around people. That was, it gave me joy. Just, like I said, like a lot of ideas, what I would get just from other people, observing, if someone didn't have something, or, just want to make a pair of earrings for someone, that helped, so, like, I don't think I had a moment of just grieving with it, because it, life, it just continues on.
Right, yeah.
And I've been telling the Lord, like, wait a minute, just stop time for a moment. Let me just take a deep breath in it. And, like, no, you just breathe as it goes on.
I wish you did work like that.
I'm hit pause on my time
right.
real quick.
For about 20 years.
He's like, no, that's what you're not gonna do, right? So just breathe and go. Keep moving.
Right, yeah. You gotta do that.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your testimony with us.
Yes.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It's just good to know that all is well in your soul. So you can see that you're at peace with God's decision. You didn't question it. You just accepted it, and that's what we all got to learn to do.
Right.
Because He gonna have His will regardless of how we feel about it. He ain't asking our permission. He created us. We didn't create Him.
That's right.
So He's not gonna ask our permission. Can I do this? No.
Amen.
When it's your time to go, you got to go.
Yeah.
It's
Because
just
it's
what
gonna
it
be
is.
something. It's gonna be
Yes.
something.
Right.
And it was just because the next year I had got sick. I was out surgery. While I was out on surgery, I got laid off. So it was like
Always something.
it's something like that. Okay, I'm gonna need you for. Okay, Lord, it's me again. Okay, I got this going on.
Yeah.
Okay, now the job gone, the insurance gone. Okay, Lord, so it was just like you can't really focus. You got to put it all in the bag and just give it to Him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is. You said this is not for me to carry. Here you go.
That's right.
You're gonna enable me
Right.
to figure it.
Right.
He will not put no more on you, that He will enable you to figure it.
Right. And then when we get, so down and, in the state like you was, you kind of feel like all you really got is faith. So like, when that's all you got, put it all there, give it all to Him, like she said, and, you gonna get the outcome that you're looking for. So.
Yeah. And not only that, I found out, well, it's been my experience that when one door closed, He always opened another. And you just go with it, and don't wait till you down and out to call on him. You know, you call on him
Right.
all day, every day, because
Right.
that's your very breath.
Yeah.
So always in your mind thinking and praising him. You know, give him the glory. So,
Yes. Yes.
and he always gonna look out for you, because he said he'll never leave you, he'll never
Right.
forsake you.
Absolutely.
So you know he's always there.
Mhm.
But you got to look in here. You can't be looking up there. You're gonna miss him. You got to look within, and that's where you'll find him. That's where you find all your answers to any question, loneliness, or whatever the case may be. Because you know he created us in his likeness and in his image. So just look to God,
Yeah.
or whatever God you serve. Which to me, there's only one. So. But yeah, but that was
Well, I guess
that's
I'll
beautiful.
just speak on a time which would be my father's passing, which we didn't have, you know, much of a relationship. So, you know, when it happened, it wasn't like, you know, if it was, you know, somebody close to me, you know, like the feeling, you know, of course I was still sad, I was hurt, you know, I was a little bit angry as well, just because I was thinking about the fact that, you know, I haven't had my dad in my life for all these years. So I was just a little bit upset, because I'm like, now I won't never, you know, get to have him in my life, and I won't get to have him in my kids' lives. So it was just a little bit of everything. But at the same time, you know, I was just like, it is what it is. Like, you know, it hurt. And I was hurt, you know. It, not like I was blaming God, like, you know, God, why you do this, you know. But it was just like, you know, why now, I guess. I think that was more so my feeling, why now? And then, you know, to my dad, I was just like, you know, why, you know, did all this time go by, you know, and we, you know, ended like this, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it was just like, I was questioning God, I was questioning my dad, and me too, because I'm like, you know, it was probably some stuff that I could have did, some things that I could have did to kind of reach out to him to try to, you know, better our relationship, and, you know, I didn't. So I was just, it was just all across the board, you know, I was just upset. But of course, you know, going back to the faith, you know, just knowing that, you know, yeah, I didn't get this opportunity, you know, with my biological father, but I have a stepdad, and he's great. He's been a great father figure for me, been a great father figure or grandfather to my kids. So, you know, I still got the same thing that I was looking for, you know, in my dad. So, you know, I just kept the faith and was like, you know, it's gonna happen, you know, like, I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know why, if, you know, but but I'm just like, I'm just gonna keep the faith, you know, like, it is what it is. I'm just gonna go with the flow. And it happened, you know, my mama, you know, if it wasn't for her, of course, you know, I wouldn't have him in our lives. So I'm glad that he came into my mom's life, swept her off her feet, and
Yes, girl.
and he just been A1 since day one. So kudos to him. Love you for that. You the man.
Well, I'll speak briefly on the time in my life where I experienced a passing. I used to get perms all the time, and if you're a black woman and you have natural curly hair, not nappy, natural, don't get it twisted.
Yes.
So yeah, coily, that's the word. And you want to straighten it from time to time. Where I was getting them like, I don't know, every time I feel a little thickness and I want to go get a perm. Well, I'm gonna say, as a result of that, I developed fibroids, and I had got pregnant. Me and my husband, and the baby was competing with the fibroids for blood, and so basically what it is, the fibroids was growing in my stomach. They was like all within my stomach, so they was growing as fast as the baby or quicker, and it's like they was competing, and they basically sucking all the blood and taking away from the baby. So he came early, like he was fully formed, fully developed, but his lungs was undeveloped. So he just out of the blue, he came, and it was just too soon. So he lived for like 3 days. So, and I grieved. You know, I was hurt because I was already in my 40s, so I knew this was never gonna happen again. So, and it was a surprise. It was I didn't know it was gonna happen. I wasn't trying.
Yeah.
But God knows best. And when he came, he was still inside the sac, and so the nurses couldn't get in the room fast enough before it just pushed itself out, and he had a couple of broken fractures, so he would have been disabled or whatever. And again, like I said, God knows best. And I grieved for a little bit, and I heard a voice, and that voice took that grief away from me. I'm not even going to say what the voice said, but I heard it up in here, and I have never been able to cry since. I've never been able to grieve. I still have pictures, and I still, think about it from time to time. Right. It's been over 16 years now. Yeah. But I haven't been able to shed a tear since then. So I know God is real, and I know He do speak to you if you're listening.
Right.
Keyword, listening.
Right.
And I know God got a plan for everybody's life. And even for the baby, His plan for him was the way it happened. It was not supposed to be. It was supposed to be cut short. And maybe that was a lesson for me. I don't know, but it is what it is. I do trust Him, and I say the same thing. Not my will, but your will be done, which is going to be done anyway.
Right, yeah.
So don't never think
whether you accept it or not.
Exactly. You can out-will the Creator.
Right.
He created us, not the other way around. But that was my experience, my personal experience with someone passing. That was near and dear to me. Both of my parents are still alive. All my siblings are still alive. We getting older and older, but I thank God we still here.
Amen, amen.
So age ain't nothing but a number. I don't count the years. In that sense, I'm glad to still be here. They don't matter. I still look good.
Right. They don't matter.
But anyway, and I thank God for all y'all. All my family, all my friends, my associates. God is good.
Yes, all the time.
All day, every day. You got anything you want to add?
The biggest grief I've had so far was like one of my friendships I had in the past. We just, I guess I was like just way deep into the friendship, and I didn't notice like they weren't the same level that I was. Yeah. I cared for that person, for their children, almost like a sister. Yeah. And I guess me to her, like I was just the extra friend. Like when her real friends that she wanted to like adore her, like when they weren't available, she'll just chill with me. I wasn't noticing that. But then when I started to notice it, and she started like being mean to me on purpose, it made me like pull back, and I just made a hard decision to end the friendship on my end.
Yeah.
When I tell y'all, it took me 6 months of grieving, like 6 months straight.
Yeah.
It's like I had made her I was just so deep into that friendship.
Yeah.
Like, it was hard to detach myself from the thought of being her friend, you know? So it was hard. As far as like a death grief, I don't have like a super close person. I do know when my god brother passed away, that hit home pretty hard. Mainly because we're just about kind of was the same age. To this day, I still don't know who ended his life. You know, as far as I know, I don't think his family even knows who ended his life, but it was due to gun violence. So that sucked, you know. So I just speak up, you know, as far, you know, something that his mom always says, if you know something, say something.
Right.
Because when stuff like that happens and you see what happened, that family wants justice.
Right.
You know, and it's so many ways to just talk about a problem. Shoot, I don't try to condone violence, but I'd rather see a fight than just shoot and kill, especially over something so stupid. Like, it's just not worth it. Right. Some of you mad over this second, you can be over it within the next hour or two.
Right.
It's not worth taking somebody's life.
No.
You both live.
Right.
Just go to your families and live your life.
Right. So, I mean, but like I was saying, like, most of my grief came from, like, friendships, mainly for me.
Well, you know, it's not just death. Like she said, there's friendship grief. Grieve that friendship and move on. Relationship grief. Job grief. I like you. But the way my brain works, me personally, when something is over for me, I'm a big believer. I tell y'all all day long, don't waste my time. Shut it down, keep it moving. You only got one life. So you better figure it out real fast. But take that time that you need to get through that. But my brain works opposite. Okay, we done. It's over with. Done. Move on. I'm in my 50s. Almost 60s, so I ain't got time. But you take that time, grieve all the time you need, and then when your grief is over, girl, get on up. Don't lay in that, because life gonna keep on life. You got this. So I guess anything else before we get to a couple of Dear Jen, because we got a couple of them. I want to get to them.
I just want to say, what Marjorie said, you know, I did grieve a friendship about 10 years ago. About 10, 11 years ago. It ended. And, you know, I remember I sent her an email, because by the time we had stopped calling each other, it was a mess. It was how the Lord willed it. And I sent an email, and I was like, you know, I ended with our season of separation. And I would cry for maybe 3 days. And I don't know who, but it's a scripture in the Old Testament, the 1st and 2nd Samuel, when Samuel was grieving Saul when the Lord had rejected him because Saul disobeyed. And, you know, his obedience is better than sacrifice. And he didn't listen, so the Lord rejected him as being the king. And Samuel grieved for him. And the Lord asked him, well, how long will you grieve for something I've already rejected? And so at that time, you know, I didn't understand why, you know, why the rejection was, you know, and because, you know, now 2024, I see why the rejection, why he did, but it still hurt. You know, like, we had been friends almost 20 years, and you know, and I loved her as my own soul. You know, I mean, we had history, we had fun times together. We grew up together. We met when we was like in our, you know, 19, 20, you know, and was in our 30s, mid 30s, so about 15 years. And but today it's like I see why, but at that time I couldn't, and I just was.
It just
The
wasn't
Lord.
meant to be.
Right.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's how he did it, and then but like a year later, I had got, me and my sister. I don't know if she's watching. I met Jakayla, and we've been rocking ever since the other friend separation because I value friendship. I value sisterships. Tina will tell you.
Yes, absolutely.
I
love it.
Just it's what we need.
Right.
Because we're all women, and some of us are mothers, some of us are not mothers, some of us are wives, some of us are not wives. But we're all women, and we can relate just being a woman.
Absolutely.
And have that sistership. So that was real dear to me. But oh man, that it hurt for like a couple days.
She took a L though. She took a major L, baby.
No, not that one.
No, I'm just saying she took a L.
Oh, she
losing
took a L.
you.
Oh yeah.
As a friend, she definitely took a L.
Oh yeah.
And you replaced with the one that you got now.
Right.
Yes. Now it was, and that's what she got me out traveling more. So it's like it's like this is what I needed.
Right.
And the other stuff is it's only God.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Margie, for reminding me of that. But yeah, he definitely.
I mean, we all probably had one of them. I had one of them too.
But that's like the only one I have ever had, and I cried. And Kenny, he told me, he was like, well, the word says we got to forbear one another, and I was like, this is not some forbearing. Like this is not nothing I'm gonna forbear.
Right. Yeah.
And I had went to my pastor wife. And we was talking, and she, things that were said about it, and she was like, "Well, Natasha, she didn't reject you; she rejected God. She didn't choose you; she didn't choose God. So it's like her relationship with the Lord. It was more important than I wasn't looking at it because that was my girl, that was my homegirl. We've been rocking, and but it was like, oh, she chose what she chose over him. Not over me, but over him.
Right.
And when I could say right now, if you see, she chose that over him. And it's like, oh wow, so get out the way. So it's like, you don't got to grieve something that I have rejected.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, he has his reasons.
You could have been over there where she at, instead of where you at right now. So.
Right. Oh yeah, he saved my soul.
Yeah.
God is good.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Dear Jen, I heard someone say that grief has no time frame, and I believe that to be true. Growing up, I always thought grief was mainly for the death of a loved one. However, as I get older, I find myself in grief of certain disappointments that come with life. Just like the guests on the show, I know what it's like to get through by faith. And I've had other instances where I got through by other things as well. I can say getting through by faith was by far the purest way to channel inner strength for sure. Amen to that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Here's the second one. Dear Jen, will the pain ever end? I lost a loved one about 10 years ago, and it left a hole in my heart that never seemed to heal. I find myself thinking about him when I feel down, and the tears start to flow. I miss him so much. When will I ever get over losing him? I pray fast and regularly. My faith is strong, but this leaves me feeling weak. Pray for me. Enough said.
Yeah, definitely will be praying for you.
Hold fast. Dear Jen, faith has played a major part of my life, but not only because of grief, but because I felt like it was the only thing I had left. Losing one family member after another can leave you sad and lonely if you don't allow God or others to come in and help fill that void. I'm still learning that to this day, but grief was so extensive but necessary and motivating, believe it or not. Yes, it can be.
Mm-hmm.
I think we touched on about all of these.
Mm-hmm.
So if y'all got anything to add, just let me know.
Well, the one before that last one, I was thinking like maybe try to think of the happy times that you had with your husband when he was alive. You know, when you start to feel sad, just think of a happy thought.
Yeah, and you gotta be at peace with it. You know, how you really feeling, you know, about the passing. Like, how do you feel towards God, you know, about the passing, or towards your husband, or was it a husband? Or,
husband.
Okay, yeah. Towards that passing, because if you're really at peace about it, you know, then it's not gonna weigh that heavy on your heart. If you're at peace with, you know, the fact that he's gone. I mean, he's gone. He's never coming back. You know. I mean, I know, of course, it's easier said than done, but you know, take the time that you need. Keep the faith. Just become or ask God to give you that peace of mind to where, you know, you can be okay with the fact that he's gone, and you know, you got all the memories that you have. You know, if I have long y'all were together, I'm sure you got many pictures. If he has kids, you know, family members, you know, get with them, share some of those memories together. You know, that might help kind of take some of that, fill some of that void or that hole, you know, in your heart. You know, just kind of coming and getting that love from the people that did love him as well. So.
Thought come to my mind is about the acceptance. You really have no choice but to accept it, because what's done is done,
Right.
and God's will gonna be done. So it's a process. Heal and then get up and keep on lifing.
Right.
You gonna add something?
Yeah, I was just like, you know, continue to live.
Mm-hmm.
You know, live from there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you don't have a hobby, or pick up a hobby. You know, exercise, go for a walk. You know, during the hot months, and think on good things. And, you know, think on the times you did. You know, the good times you did have. You know, where you did smile. You know, where you had joy in your heart.
Right.
And then, you know, the relationship with Jesus is coming and accept him into your life is so pivotal during these times, because when you have a void from something or someone, you know, within your heart, it just feels like it's missing, but he's there to fill that in too.
Right.
Like, you know, and not necessarily replace it, but just comes in and just fills it to where you can now live on. You know, you can move forward.
Right.
There are, you know, different people, you know, you may be needed somewhere. And sometimes, you know, we keep ourselves in that moment of, you know, like not even a pity party. It's not a pity party, because the hurt is real. But you just stand there, you stand in that point, you know, you can miss opportunities where you can help and serve and others, you know, that may be going through that as well. So definitely keep the Lord within your heart, so you can help him.
That's beautiful. Okay, we have one more. Dear Jen, coming from a man's point of view, why can't men grieve like women can? Why do we have to hold in our feelings, be strong and tough, while the women get to kick, scream, and holler? I never understood this one-sided way of thinking. We both lost a son, but the blame was placed solely on my shoulders, and as a man, I took on that burden. But when would I be allowed to grieve? Signed, Hurt and Confused. Wow.
You should have been grieved. You know, when it happened, you know, I feel like whenever in that moment where you feel like, you know, you needed to grieve, that's when it should have happened. And if you haven't done it yet, take the time to do it. You know, whether it take a day, 2 days, you know, just get in the room by yourself if that's what you gotta do. Whatever you gotta do to release that, do it. That's my advice.
And we're not saying get over it, because you'll never get over it.
Yeah.
But you got to grieve. You
Right.
got to, because if you don't, that lead to mental issues, like having that on your mind, that pressure on your heart, that can lead to a heart attack. And we don't want that for you.
Right.
So I'm telling you, as a woman, to you, a man, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to kick, scream, yell, just like
You
us
gotta
women do.
that too, yeah.
We women do it because we emotional already. And especially if you lose a child.
Right.
I've done that. Even though he was just freshly born, he was still my child. He was still my flesh and blood.
Right.
So you got to grieve. You got to let that pressure up off of you. You know,
Just
figure it
natural.
out. Go to the gym, hit a bean bag, or lift some weight, whatever you got to do. But get it off of you, because holding that in is not good for you or anybody around you.
Right.
And you don't want to think you okay and be going somewhere and then something trigger you and you snap and then all H break loose. You don't want that. So go ahead and let that release it. It's
Right.
okay to release it.
Right.
If you got to go in the closet and scream, do what you got to do. Get it off you.
Yeah.
You have my permission. Let it go.
Do it now.
I'll go buy some water, and whether it's like a waterfall where you walk a trail,
That
nature
helps.
trail, then when you get to the waterfall, scream real loud, or just sit there and look at the water.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
that
just
works
healing
for
in the
me.
water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just watching them waves, just sound
hear
of
it,
it.
peaceful.
Yes.
Hear
Yes. That's good.
Oh, it's something that he said, like the blame was placed on him.
Yeah.
So first we have to say, why are you being blamed for this? Do you have a hand in this? And or is it just fair speaking? The other parent in their grief, they placing the blame somewhere, and it's just on you.
Right.
Because men are known, for your strength. And even during that time of women being emotional, it's still a man's strength that our emotions can rest on. So I think that's more so why women can be so emotional and a man be there for strength. But why are you being blamed? At the loss of your own son, or your own child. Excuse me, not son, but your own child. And then from there, you can begin your grieving process. But if you're currently carrying or blaming yourself for your child's death, and people are blaming you as well,
Right.
you can't even grieve from that, because you're carrying that burden of this being your fault.
Yeah.
So,
You got to pass that burden to God, because that's way above you. You know, because at the end of the day, He give breath and He takes breath.
Right.
So the burden is His. Give it to Him. He told you, lay your burdens down. He can handle it. He can take it. So give it to Him. So we hope y'all enjoyed this episode of a segment of Check That Post Podcast. You can follow us on TikTok at Check That Post Pod, or Facebook and YouTube at Check That Post Pod. Hit the like and subscribe button. Turn on your notifications so you know every time we upload a new episode. You can write a Dear Jen letter to checkthatpostpod@gmail.com or text 866-311-2251.